In this video, we are going to discuss about polymorphism in Python programming. Polymorphism is derived from two Greek words. They are poly and morphism. Poly means many, whereas morphism means forms. So the definition for the polymorphism is representing one thing in many forms. Representing one thing in many forms is called as polymorphism. In Python programming, we can implement polymorphism mainly in three ways. The first way is operator overloading. Second way is method overloading, and third way is method overriding. So by using these three approaches, we can implement polymorphism. Let us discuss all the three approaches one by one. Okay. So what is the first approach? The first approach is operator overloading. Operator overloading means using the same operator for different purposes. That is, we can provide extra meaning. To the existing operator. Without changing its previous meaning. So this is the definition. So operator overloading means we can provide extra functionality to the existing operator without changing its previous meaning. Let us take the example of plus. By using plus, we can add two numbers. What is the result of 10 plus 20? 30. Likewise, by using plus, we can concatenate two strings. We can join two strings. Let the first string is Ram, whereas the second string is Babu. If we concatenate Ram and Babu, then we will get Ram Babu. So by using plus operator, we can add two numbers as well as we can concatenate two strings. Is it possible to add two objects? It is not possible. We can't perform addition operation on two objects, but we can make that as possible by using operator overloading. So by using operator overloading concept with the help of plus operator, we can perform addition operation on two objects. Now let us take an example program for that. Let us take an example program for the operator overloading. So let us define the class. Let name of the class is number. Let n is uppercase letter. Let us define a constructor def underscore init underscore. The first parameter of init method is self. There are three members are there. ABC. Let we have three members. Now let us do the initialization. So self dot A is equal to A. Self dot B is equal to B. So next one, self dot C is equal to C. Now let us create an object. So here I am creating the object. So obj, let the first object name is n1. n1 is equal to, what is the name of the class? Number. So n1 is equal to number of Let the parameters are 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So whenever the statement is executed, here we have a constructor. So the control goes to the constructor. So in N1 object, the value of A is 1, the value of B is 2, the value of C is 3. Okay. Likewise, let us create one more object. N2 is equal to number of, let the parameters are 4, 5, 6. So whenever the statement is executed, then the corresponding constructor is going to be executed. So what are N2 values now? A, B, C. So what are the values now? 4, 5, 6. In N2 object, A value is 4, B value is 5, C value is 6. Let the next statement is N1 plus N2. N1 plus N2. So N1 plus N2 means we have to perform addition operation on these two objects. So we have to get the result as, so what is the result of, what is the sum of these two objects? 1 plus 4 means 5. So we have to add these two numbers, these two numbers, these two numbers. So we have to produce output as 5, 7 and 9. But whenever the statement is executed, then Python interpreter will produce an error message. Why? Because it is not possible to perform addition on two objects. So now we have to overload the plus operator. Okay. So for that purpose, we have several functions are there. In order to overload the plus, we have a function called add function. So let us define that function or method. So def underscore underscore add underscore underscore. Here this add method mainly accepts two parameters. The first parameter is self, the second parameter is other. This is the predefined syntax. If we want in place of other, we can use some other statement also. So here N1 plus N2, whenever the statement is executed, then this add function will be called, add method will be called. Likewise, if we want to overload minus, then we have to use sub function. If we want to overload multiplication, then we have to use mul function. For all the methods, the prototype is same only, self comma other. In place of other, we can use some other name also, there is no problem. But in this example, which operator we are overloading? We are overloading the plus operator. That means for plus, we are providing extra meaning. What is that extra meaning? Addition of two objects. Okay. So whenever this statement is executed, then the control goes to the add method. And what is the left hand side object? N1. The content of N1 will be passed to the self. And what is the right hand side object? N2. The content of N2 will be passed to the other. Okay. Now let us perform the addition operation. A is equal to self dot A plus, so here N1 means self, whereas N2 means other. We have to add self dot A and other dot A. So self dot A plus other dot A. Now A contains 1 plus 4. What is the result? 5. Now A contains 5. Likewise, let us add B also. B is equal to self dot B plus other dot B. So self dot B means 2, other dot B means 5. So 2 plus 5 means 7. Next to C is equal to self dot C plus other dot C. Okay. Self dot C plus other dot C. So now result is calculated. Now we have to return the corresponding object to this function, this statement. So for that purpose, let us use an object called res. Res is nothing but an object. Here what is the name of the class? We know how to create the object. Object is equal to class name of, what are the parameters here? ABC. ABC. So whenever the statement is executed, then the corresponding result will be returned to this statement. Now here in the left hand side, let us use N3. So what is number of A comma B comma C? This addition 5 comma 7 comma 9. So now that result is available in res. So in res we have ABC and ABC values are that result. So whenever the statement is executed, now so the corresponding result is stored in this variable. So now res will be returned. So for returning the res, let us use a statement called return res. So whenever the statement is executed, then res value will be returned and it will be assigned to N3. Now the result is available in N3. Now let us display the result. So print of n3 dot a comma n3 dot b comma n3 dot c. So now that result will be displayed. So what is the result? 5 space 7 space 9. That statement will be printed. Here if we want, in place of n3 is equal to n1 plus n2, we can write a statement like this. n3 is equal to, here what is the name of the class? Number is the name of the class. So number dot, which method we have to call? Underscore add underscore. What is the first parameter we have to pass? n1 comma n2. So like this also we can write. In place of this statement n3 is equal to n1 plus n2, we can write this statement also. Why? Because here actually we execute this statement 10 plus 20. Here what is 10 and 20? 10 and 20 are nothing but integer variables. So the class is int. So we can write this statement as int dot. So which function will be called? Plus means whenever the statement is executed, automatically add function will get executed. So underscore add underscore. What is the first parameter? 10 comma what is the second parameter? 20. Likewise, if we want to add two strings, then str dot. Why? Because the function for the str is the class for the corresponding strings is str underscore within the quotations Ram comma within the quotations Babu. Okay. So whenever this statement is executed, whenever this plus statement is executed, automatically add function will get executed, or we can call add function like this. In this way we can overload plus operator. Like this we can overload minus operator, star operator, division operator also. So minus means in place of add we have to use sub function, whereas mul means in place of add, star means in place of this add we have to use the mul function. Now let us see how we can overload the comparison operators. We have various comparison operators such as less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, not equal to. Very, very simple. Less than means we have to use LT, greater than means we have to use ZT, less than or equal to means LE, greater than or equal to means GE, equals to means EQ, not equals to means equals to, not equal to. Not equal to means we can use NE. Now let us see the function for how to overload the comparison operators. Let us overload comparison operators, whether object 1 content is less than object 3 content or not. Here what is object 1 content? 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3 means 1 plus 2 plus 3, 6. Whereas what is object 2 content? 4 plus 5 plus 6. So 9 plus 6, 15. So here we can say that object 1 is less than object 2. So it has to return true value. Now let us see how we can write that. So for that purpose here we have to call the statement print of obj1 less than, here what is the object? I am sorry, here we have n1 and n2. So print of n1 less than n2. So whenever this statement is executed less than, then automatically the cursor will goes to the, for less than which function we have to define? LT function. So automatically control goes to the LT function. Actually we have to define that function here, but for space constraints I am writing here. Okay. So what is the function? Def underscore LT underscore. It has two parameters, self comma other. Now let us add the first object. Okay. So A is equal to, or you can use some other name also, there is no problem. In place of A we can use O1 or B, C. It is our choice. We can use any other name. Let us add the first object. So A is equal to self dot A plus self dot B plus self dot C. Next B is equal to second object information is available in other. Why? Because whenever the statement is executed, n1 information will be passed to self, n2 information will be passed to the other. So B is equal to other dot A plus other dot B plus other dot C. Okay. Next let us execute the statement. If A is less than B, then return true value, return true, else return false value. Here what is the first object? Sum 6. What is the second object? Sum 15. So 6 is less than 15. Condition is true. So true will be returned. Okay. And that result will be printed here. Okay. So likewise, we can overload any operator. It may be less than or greater than or less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So this is about operator overloading. Now let us see the remaining also. So after discussing method overloading and method overriding, we will see practically. So first let us see the theory and then we will execute the programs practically. Now let us see about the second polymorphism technique, that is method overloading. Method overloading means defining multiple methods with the same name but with different signatures. So we have to define same method. We have to define method with the same name but with different signatures. Here display of, here it has no argument. Display of A, it has one argument. Display of A comma B, it has two arguments. Display of A comma B comma C. So defining multiple methods with the same name but with different signature. So what is signature? Signature means number of arguments and order of arguments. Here number of arguments are only 0. Here number of arguments are 1. Here number of arguments are 2. Here the number of arguments are 3. And what is the order of the arguments? Order is also important. Here let A is integer. Then display of, let some other variable is A. Let this D is also integer. Now we can't overload these two methods. Okay. Why? Because this method is also having one argument which is of integer. This method is also having one argument which is of integer. But in place of D, we can have some other argument. In place of D, let us use string. Then we can overload these two methods. There is no problem. But here the problem is Python programming doesn't support method overloading. Whereas Java, C++, C#, all object-oriented programming languages supports method overloading except Python. Python can't support the method overloading. In order to implement method overloading, we have to use default argument concepts. So if we want to have method overloading, then we must implement what? We must use default arguments. Here method overloading means there is no need of inheritance. Only single class is enough. Okay. Now let us implement method overloading with the help of the default arguments. Class. Let name of the class is method overloading. Let name of the class is method overloading. Method overloading. Now let us have the method. def. Let name of the method is display. So def display of. We know that the first argument is self. What is default arguments? Already we discussed about default arguments in functions concept in Python programming. Default arguments means we can provide default value for each and every argument in function definition. So whenever we call the function with less number of arguments, then those default values will be taken. Let here the display function has 3 arguments. Okay. So for the 3 arguments we can provide the default values. So if we call the function with less number of arguments, then those default values will be considered. Suppose if you call the function with sufficient arguments, then these values will be taken. Default values won't be taken. So when default values will be taken, whenever we call the method, whenever a method is called with less number of arguments, then only default values will be taken. So let here we have 3 variables A comma B comma C. Okay. Here default values will always be given from right to left. So from right to left we have to assign the default values. Let the value is none. Let the default value for C is none. For B is also none. For A is also none. Okay. So this is nothing but colon function starting block. So now let us print ABC values. So print A comma B comma C. Okay. Print A comma B comma C. Now let us create an object. Obj is equal to method overloading. Obj is equal to method overloading. So let us call the function with 0 arguments obj.display. Here this function is not having any arguments. So whenever this statement is executed, control goes to the display function. But in this function we don't have any argument. So the default values will be considered. So what is A value now? None. So we will get output as, what is A value? None. B is also none. C is also none. Why? Because we call the function with less number of arguments. So in that occasion, default values will be considered. Now let us call the function with a single argument. Obj dot display of, let the argument is 10. So now what will happen is, this 10 will be passed to A. Now A contains 20, whereas B and C will become none only. So what is the output now? A value is 20, B value is none. A value is 10, B value is 20, C value is none. Now let us call the function with two arguments. So 10 comma 20, 10 comma 20. Now this 10 will be passed to A, 20 will be passed to B. So now A value is 10, B value is 20, C value is none. Okay. Now let us call the function with three arguments, 10 comma 20 comma 30. Now 10 will be passed to A, 20 will be passed to B, 30 will be passed to C. Now the output is 10, 20, 30. So this is about method overloading. So what is the problem here? Python programming doesn't support method overloading. So if we want to implement method overloading, then we must use the concept of default arguments. So this is about method overloading. Now let us see the last concept of polymorphism, that is method overriding. Method overriding. So method overloading means using the same method for different purposes. That is overloading. Using the same operator for different purposes. Using the same method for different purposes. So with the help of the same method, we are displaying 0 argument, 1 argument, 2 argument, 3 arguments. So method overriding. Method overriding is implemented only while using the inheritance. If there is no inheritance, then there is no method overriding. Okay. We know inheritance. Inheritance means we will have base class and derived class. Here we have a base class. Let base class contains a method called display method. So void display of self. Let us print some definition. So print of. So this method is nothing but base class display method. Base class display method. Now we need to implement the inheritance. Why? Because we have to implement what? Method overriding. So let us have the derived class. So class derived of. So here the derived class is derived from the base class. Base class. But let us assume that derived class is not satisfied with base class method definition. Then derived class can redefine the method. Derived class can provide its own implementation for the method. So here what is the problem? So whenever we use inheritance, we can use all the members of the base class in derived class also. So now derived class can also use display method. But here what is the problem? Derived class is not satisfied with base class method definition. In that occasion, derived class can redefine the method. Derived class can provide its own implementation for the method. So here what the derived class is doing is, derived class is redefining the base class method. Let the definition for the display method here is print of derived class display. Derived class display method. Display method. Now let us create an object. So here we know that in inheritance, we mainly create object for the derived class. So object is equal to, what is the name of the derived class? Derived. Now let us call the display method. So whenever we call the display method, then what will happen is, display method is available in both derived class and base class. Okay. So whenever we call the display method, then the derived class display method will overrides base class display method. That means the derived class display method is going to be executed, and this process is called as method overriding. We can implement method overriding only when base class and derived class contains, here not void, it is DEF. It is DEF. We can implement method overriding only when base class and derived class contains same method name as well as same prototype. Here we have only one argument, that is self. Here also we have only one argument. Okay. So whenever we call the display method, then derived class display method will override base class display method. So derived class display method is going to be executed. So we will get output as derived class display method. And this process is called as what? Method overriding. Why? Because derived class method is overriding the base class method. Now let us see the practical implementation. Now let us see the implementation. So new file. So first let us see the program of operator overloading. So class, name of the class is number. Now let us have the constructor. So def underscore underscore init underscore underscore. So self of. So totally 3 parameters, a comma b comma c. Now let us do the initialization. Self dot a is equal to a. Self dot b is equal to b. Self dot c is equal to c. Okay. Now let us create an object. N1 is equal to number of 1 comma 2 comma 3. Next N2 is equal to number of 4 comma 5 comma 6. Okay. Now let us use the statement N1 plus N2. So let us check whether the statement will work or not. Can we add 2 objects with the help of plus or not? So let us see that program. The program name is OPER. Let us run the program. So here we got an error message. What is that error message? Unsupported operand type for plus, number and number. So we can't perform plus operation on 2 objects. So if we want to perform, then we have to define, we have to overload the operator by using with add function. So underscore add underscore underscore. So the first parameter is self, second parameter is other. In place of other, we can use some other name also. There is no problem. Now let us add the objects. A is equal to self dot a plus other dot a. B is equal to self dot b plus other dot b. C is equal to self dot c plus other dot c. Now the result is available in ABC. Let us create an object. Let name of the object is res. Res is equal to, we know how to create the object. Class name of, we need to pass ABC. Now let us pass the information by using the return statement. So whenever the statement is executed, now that res value will be returned to the statement. Let us store the result in N3 object. Now N3 object contains that result. So now let us display the result. So print of N3.a comma N3.b comma N3.c. Control S. Let us run the program. So we got the output as 579. Why? Because that is nothing but addition of the 2 objects. 579. Okay. 1 plus 4 means 5. 2 plus 5 means 7. 3 plus 6 means 9. Or in place of N1 plus N2, we can write it as class name dot number dot. What is the function name? Underscore underscore add underscore underscore. Which objects we have to pass? N1 comma N2. Let us save the program and run it. So like this also we can call the function. Okay. Now let us overload one more operator, that is comparison operator. So print of. So directly print the result here. N1 less than N2. N1 less than N2. Okay. So whenever this less than statement is executed, then control goes to the less than function. So let us have a less than function or less than method. So self of, same prototype. So self of other. Now let us add the first object. Let us add the first object with O1. So O1 is equal to first object means self dot A plus self dot B plus self dot C. Now O1 contains 1 plus 2 plus 3, that is 6. Now let us add the second object. So O2 is equal to other dot A plus other dot B plus other dot C. Now O2 contains second object sum. So 4 plus 5 plus 6 means 15. Now let us check the condition. If O1 is less than O2, then return true. Else return false, else return false. Here O1 is less than O2, so we will get output as true. So in this way we can overload comparison operators. Like this we can overload any other operator. So we got the output as true. Okay, like here we know that we can perform addition on two numbers like this, 10 plus 20. What is the result? 30. Or we can write the statement as 10 and 20 are nothing but integers. So integer dot underscore underscore add underscore underscore. Why? Because whenever plus is executed, then automatically add method is going to be executed. So 100 comma 200. So what is the result of 100 comma 200? We got the result as 30. So likewise we can perform concatenation on two strings also. Okay, let A is equal to directly also we can write Ram plus Babu. So what is the result of Ram plus Babu? Ram Babu. Here Ram and Babu are nothing but string class str dot underscore underscore add underscore underscore. Here string means we can use either single quotation or double quotation. It is your choice. So Ram comma Babu. So let us see the output Ram Babu. So in this way we can do the operator overloading. Now let us see the method overloading. Let us see the method overloading implementation. So class, let name of the class is method overloading. Method overloading. Let us have the method def. Let name of the method is display method. So def display of. So the first parameter is self. Next A is equal to none. A is equal to none. Next B is equal to none. Next C is equal to none. C is equal to none. Okay. Why? Because Python doesn't support method overloading. So we have to make use of the concept of default arguments. Okay. Let us display ABC values. So print of A comma B comma C. Okay. Now let us create an object. So obj is equal to method overloading. Obj is equal to method overloading. Now let us call the display method with 0 argument. Next 1 argument. Obj dot display of 10. Obj dot display of 10. Next 2 arguments. Obj dot display of 2 arguments. So 10 comma 20. Next last one 3 arguments. Obj dot display of 10 comma 20 comma 30. Let us save the program. Let name of the method is meth. Let us run it F5. So we got the output as none, 3 nuns, 10 none none, 20 10 20 none, 10 20 30. If you don't use default arguments, then what will happen is compile Python interpreter will generate the error message. Why? Because Python doesn't support this concept. Okay. So this is about method overloading. Now let us see about the last program. The last program is very simple program, method overriding. So class base, let us define the display method. So def display of self. Let body of the method is print of base class display method. Now let us base class display method. Now let us create the derived class. So class of derived of base. Let derived class is not satisfied with base class method definition. So derived class can provide its own definition for the method. So control V. Now in place of base, let us write derived. So derived class display method. Now let us create the object. We know that inheritance means generally we will create an object for derived class only. So obj is equal to derived. Now let us call the display method. So obj dot display method. Then which display method will get executed? Derived class display method will get executed. So that means derived class method is overriding the base class method, and this is called as method overriding. So derived class display method is executed. So this is about polymorphism in Python programming.